3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Welcome to In the Clutch. I'm Joe.
Joe.
And we're going to bring to you today, starting today, our baseball preview. This is the beginning of a 7-week preview show. Today we begin with the National League East. And then we're going to follow it up with the NL Central, the NL West, and then we'll go AL West, AL Central, AL East, and then we'll do our prediction show the week before opening day. Very exciting, though. Baseball is back. We're ready to get a full season in. Pitchers and catchers report today as of today's recording. So by the time you guys hear this or see this, we'll be full on spring training, which is really, really exciting. So the NL East, all right? Yeah, baseball. All right, NL East. Let's talk about the NL East.
Yeah, I think me and you talked about this a little bit, before we started this segment, and I think we're both going to probably agree. We still have a lot of, more divisions to do, but this division is really tight, really competitive. I
agree. Yeah, it's from top to bottom. The teams have loaded up, reloaded, and then there's always the question mark of the Florida Marlins, the Miami Marlins. That's a question mark as well, because last year they had a 500 record, right? Yeah, they made
wild card.
They made the playoffs last year. So, which, by the way, last year was the first year that the Marlins had ever made the playoffs and didn't win the World Series. That's a weird thing. That's weird.
Yeah, it is a weird stat. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So, I'm sorry. What was that?
They usually win the championship and trade everything away.
Right. Yeah. But they don't have anything to trade away right now. So, no. But we'll get into that. We'll get into the Miami Marlins. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to go in alphabetical order so that there's no predisposed concept about which way we lean from a power ranking standpoint within the division. So we're going to start with the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves' key acquisitions are returning Marcell Ozuna. That's an important one. And then Charlie Morton on a 1-year contract is also a key acquisition. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta Braves?
I mean, the Atlanta Braves are as good as everybody thinks. I mean, they're probably a front runner for a lot of people. I mean, reigning MVP Freddie Freeman. Their lineup is stacked. Marcell Ozuna, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies. I mean, their offense is great. The issue, though, is, I mean, Charlie Morton has been brought in to be the best pitcher on the team in aspects, and now we're getting to a full season. And Charlie Morton is 37 years old, and he's the only guy that's pitched over 165 innings out of their top 5 projected pitchers. So it'd be interesting for me to see where the Atlanta Braves end up with a full season. I mean, their pitching staff is young. And Ian Anderson, I mean, that guy looked unbelievable last year. Looks like he could be a front of a line rotation guy, but I mean, he's 22 years old. I think he pitched like 35 innings or something. Like, how many innings can he put in? Kyle Wright, how many innings can he put in? So their pitching staff is really young. They're going to rely a lot on, 37-year-old Morton, who had a 4.7 something ERA last year. So for me, Charlie Morton is the key to that team's success. They need Charlie Morton to pitch like he did back when he was in Houston, Tampa Bay, and kind of turn back the clock.
Yeah, I don't think the rotation relies as much on Charlie Morton as you say it is, because Max Fried is there. I mean, he did throw 165 innings in 2019, and based on normal progression, you would think that there's an opportunity for him to get to 170, 180 this year. But Max Fried is the ace of the Atlanta Braves. And this doesn't even take into consideration that Matt Soroka is going to be back in the rotation at some point this year. So this will be, that rotation eventually will be Fried, Morton, Ian Anderson, Matt Soroka, and Drew Smiley or Kyle Wright. So I think that top to bottom, this rotation could be one of the best in the majors. When you look at if all the prospects come to fruition, if Ian Anderson pitches like he did in the postseason last year, I think that this could be one of the best rotations overall. You talked about Freddie Freeman being MVP, but Marcell Ozuna was right in that conversation as well. It is interesting, though, that now without the universal DH in the National League, Marcell Ozuna is going to have to play the outfield, which takes away a spot. But Nick Markakis isn't around either, so that opens up a spot. But the Atlanta Braves have some really fantastic prospects, outfield prospects like Drew Waters, and Pache, or however you pronounce it, Patch. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but anyway, those two are really top-notch outfield prospects to go with Ozuna and Acuna in the outfield, and then that infield is, I love it. Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Dansby Swanson, whoever's going to play third base. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if I have as much optimism about that pitching rotation as you do, man. Those guys there's just a lot of innings that have to get chewed up. This isn't going to be COVID-19 year. This is going to be a full baseball season. And Soroka, I think, is like 23, 24. Max Fried is also really young. Ian Anderson's 22. Like, they just don't have a lot of innings under their belt, and there's a lot of innings to chew up. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays long-term. And bringing Ozuna back was huge, but the guy batted, again, COVID-19 weird year. He batted 330 something last year. He's a career 276 hitter. Career 276 hitter. Can he really keep that up? So there's a lot of question marks there for the Atlanta Braves overall, I think.
Yeah, I don't have any inside information on this, but I'm betting that they signed Ozuna to that 4-year contract, knowing that he'll play the outfield this year, but then he'll be the primary DH the last 3 years of that 4-year contract. Because I can't imagine that after this offseason, where the CBA has to be renegotiated, that the players don't get universal DH out of that. It's what everybody wants at this point. What's that?
Really disappointing. They had it for 1 year and they got rid of it.
Well, that and the playoff setup too. Bring that back, because that was exciting. I don't want to go back to a 1-game wild card. That's lame.
Yeah.
But whatever. Still love baseball. One question mark for you. The only hole that I find in the offense is obviously whatever's going to happen with Austin Riley's development at third base, his continued development at third base. But the only other hole in that lineup is potentially Travis d'Arnaud, and that dude did pretty well last year. This team could have 8 hitters hit 20+ home runs. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, they should. Remember the new thing they're doing to the ball, but they should have guys that hit 20 home runs. They also most likely will only have one guy that bats over 300 in Freddie Freeman. I really don't think Marcell Ozuna keeps up with that pace that he did last year. So and hopefully they have their on-base percentage stays up and stuff. I'm not worried about their offense. I'm just worried about their pitching long-term.
Mm-hmm.
We all know pitching wins in the long run, and their pitching.
Yeah, you're right about the batting average. Dansby Swanson had an incredible short season last year, where he exceeded all expectations. But I would put Ronald Acuna. He's what, 24? How old is he?
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah. I put him in the conversation as somebody that could hit 300, especially since he's hitting in front of Freddie Freeman. So, Acuna
he usually leads off.
What's that?
He usually lead off.
Yeah, he leads off, and most projections have him over 40 home runs. Over 40 home runs. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
All right. The next team alphabetically on our list is the Miami Marlins. We're going to get right to the Miami Marlins here.
Yeah, your place wild card team last year, your Miami Marlins.
Right. Yeah. So they didn't really have any key acquisitions. They did bring Adam Duvall, 32-year-old Adam Duvall in, and a reliever with the last name Bass that nobody's really ever heard of. That's it. They signed a bunch of one-year contracts and invited a bunch of people to the minors on minor league contracts to their spring training. They have a ton of prospects. They're one of the top 10 farm systems in the major leagues right now. All right. What's your thoughts on Miami?
Man, they were an anomaly last year. I mean, let's be honest. They had, I think it was over an 80% winning percentage in one-run games last year. They got really lucky in that aspect. I mean, they had one guy bat over 300, and it was Miguel Rojas. Now, let me tell you about Miguel Rojas. He's 31 years old in his second year. That's how late he came up. That's how much of a late bloomer. And from top to bottom, their lineup is that scary. I don't think there's a guy projected to bat over 288 on that team. Starling Marte, I mean, I still love him from Pittsburgh, but I mean, that guy has played over 132 games once since 2015. He's 32 years old. He's kind of, I mean, he's the key part there, and he can't seem to stay healthy. But the key for the Marlins for me is their pitching. They're very young, got some really good prospects. Big time key here would be Sixto Sanchez, top prospect that they got. And it'd be interesting to see if he can take the leap here. But I mean, that Alcantara, they just got a lot of really young pitching prospects and young talent there that, you know, they could be really good in a couple of years, but I think they fall back down this year.
Yeah, let me do this. I like playing this game with you. Can you name the first name, if I give you the last name for the starting rotation? I mean, unless you already have it written down, but I'm gonna play this game with you. The starting rotation, all right? You got Sandy Alcantara and you got Sixto Sanchez. You got those two down. The projected starting rotation. I'm just gonna give you the last names. You tell me the first name. Lopez.
Pablo.
Oh, wow, good job, man. Hernandez.
Francisco.
No. I've never even heard of this guy, but Elizer. Elizer? I don't even know. It's Elieser. Rogers.
Carlos.
No. Carlos Rogers. Okay. Trevor Rogers. He's actually one of their top he's one of their top prospects, at least. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, I think I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, their starting rotation is a bunch of, I have no idea who that guy is. I mean, Sixto Sanchez, you have to know. Trevor Rogers, you probably knew. Sandy Alcantara, you definitely knew. Pablo Lopez, I'm glad you pulled that one out. But their projected number 3 starter is Elizer Hernandez. Last year, Elizer Hernandez did pitch in 6 games. He threw 25 innings. He was 1-0. He had 34 strikeouts in 25 innings. The year before that, he threw in 21 games, a lot of it in relief. Didn't go deep in games either when he did start. Again, big strikeouts guy. And he also played some games in 2018, but that was almost all relief in 2018. So young guy, big strikeout guy, though. He had a 3.16 ERA. He won a game. So who knows? Who knows what this Hernandez did?
Are they projected to do a 6-man rotation? Do you know?
No, they are not. They're not projected. There are 4 teams right now that have committed to the 6-man rotations, and then there's a bunch of teams that haven't yet decided, like the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are a team that has yet to completely commit to a 6-man rotation. By the way, shameless plug, if you want more information about the benefits of the 6-man rotation, I wrote an article for Pacific Northwest Sports that is about the 6-man rotation. And yeah, we'll put the link down there for you in the comments so that you guys can check it out. Benefits of the 6-man rotation. Yeah, the offense doesn't scare you. I mean, Jesus Aguilar was supposed to be a monster masher, and the dude just hasn't shown up. Brian Anderson's probably their best offensive prospect that they've brought up in the last 3 or 4 years. And he's not really that powerful either. Corey Dickerson's an interesting one, though. Corey Dickerson could be that guy. He could be the offensive I mean, he had a season with the Reds where he just started off on fire. Remember that? Man, what year was that?
Yep.
That
No,
was
I get it.
2000,
Well, and they also
2018.
got a prospect, Jorge Alfaro, whatever the catcher. I mean,
Yeah.
for the you're supposed to be really good. He's still really young. So I mean, they have some young talent that could do something,
True.
maybe.
Well, in 2017, Corey Dickerson had 27 home runs. That was his biggest home run year. 2018 and 2019, he did bat over 300 though, in limited efforts, mostly due to injury. But Corey Dickerson's an interesting one. All right, let's move on. The next team on our list is the New York Mets. Their key acquisitions are Francisco Lindor. That's a big one. They acquired in a trade. James McCann to replace Wilson Ramos, and Kevin Pillar. I just like saying his name. All right, what are your thoughts on the New York Mets?
What about Carlos Carrasco?
Oh yeah, I guess that could be a key acquisition too. Yep, good call.
Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, Stroman, I don't know because he's got an injury. So is he
But I
gonna?
mean, it's out there. I mean, definitely Carrasco though. That's a key acquisition for them. Nothing's bigger than Lindor, right? I mean, that guy is the best player in the Indians. So, I mean, they just added, Francisco Lindor to that lineup. Already has one of my favorite underrated guys in Jeff McNeil. That's an on-base man, bats great, doesn't strike out. Love Jeff McNeil.
Mhm.
And that gets to put some people in front of Conforto and Alfonso, for some home runs.
Alonso.
Pete Alonso, yeah. Carrasco's a huge addition to get some pitching help here for Jacob deGrom. I think they're really good. I think a couple big keys here is Conforto batted .322 last year. He's coming into his 27 year. 27 years, a big year, in baseball. He's a career 2 hitter. Has hit a bunch of home runs in his career. If he can keep that average up and keep that type of home run tally that he's been doing up, I mean, he could be a huge breakout candidate and a huge number 4 hitter in that lineup if they put him. I think he's projected, to be actually in front of Pete Alonso right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be huge for that offense. Key to that team, though, Edwin Diaz. We all saw last year how many blow. I mean, poor Jacob deGrom already loses enough games being the best pitcher in baseball.
Right.
A lot of that is to do with the closing, and they thought they shored that up last year getting Edwin Diaz, and man, that guy really had a struggle. He's going to get to have the job again, but if he can be like he was at the Mariners, I mean, that's really going to lock things up for them. So they need Edwin Diaz to show up.
Well, I think first of all, I'm sure Darius is going to correct this, but 2019 Edwin Diaz for the Mets, yeah, brutal, atrocious, a ton of blown saves. Last year's Edwin Diaz, career best ERA, 1.75, also struck out 2 per inning pitched, 50 strikeouts in 25 innings pitched. Now he also was kind of relieved of his closer duties, but then he got them back. He earned them back the last 2 weeks of September because of his efforts. So he did lose his closer, but it wasn't really his fault either. So there were he had 3 blown saves in the beginning of last year. Edwin Diaz did three blown saves, kind of right off the rip of the short season, where he did lose the closer's job, but none of those were really his fault. Two of them were prolonged innings based on errors. And then one of them was a call. I don't know if you remember this, but it was a call against the Phillies, where they went back to the replay, and the dude was out at first base. It was Bryce Harper. He was out at first base, and they called him safe. It extended the inning. He gave up a game-winning home run in that situation. So I mean, Edwin Diaz is legit. Like, that dude is absolutely 100% legit. And you're right. Getting him back on track is going to be important. But last year was a much better season than the year before, and he's definitely in line to be the closer. But they've also added a lot of bullpen to help out with Edwin Diaz. So it's just not him alone. Like, they brought in hold on. They brought in like Trevor May from the Twins. Like that guy's insane. And they still have Seth Lugo, Juris Familia, who was a closer, Aaron Loop. They brought in Aaron Loop from Toronto. So that bullpen is much stronger, and you're right. That's been the Achilles heel of the Mets. Like all around, this team looks really good. I do want to make one just quick statement. Look, if you put Michael Conforto between Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso in that lineup, Conforto's going to have a huge season. Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, here's the deal. Look, fantasy plug. If you have Michael Conforto on your team and you're in a keeper league, well, you should think about keeping him. I would if I had Conforto.
Yeah, he's a top breakout candidate for me.
Yeah. No, agreed. Let's talk about that rotation. DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, when he comes back, if he's healthy, he did opt out last year. And then Joey Lucchesi, that's an interesting one as well. And then potentially David Peterson and others that will fill in that fifth starter spot. What do you think of that rotation?
I mean, I think the rotation is great with Carrasco and DeGrom. And then there's, some guesses after that. Like you said, Lucchesi, I think he was the Padres minor league prospect coming up. Stroman, health issues. But, I mean, Carrasco and DeGrom, man, those are great with a bullpen behind them. I mean, I feel like you feel like you can easily win 2 games every time you get a series with those guys. They need just the rest of that lineup to just plug in a little bit. But I think this could be the Mets' year.
Could be. I mean, it's interesting. Lucchesi, by the way, does have 2 full years of Major League Baseball service. 2019, he threw 30 games, had a 4.18 ERA, and was about 1-for-1 strikeouts to innings pitched. 2018, he was a little bit more than one strikeout per innings pitched, 4.08 ERA. And again, in San Diego, so take that with, whatever you want to do on that.
Yeah, but I think he's young, and I think he was a top prospect. So I mean, there's hope.
Yeah, I think the Mets are definitely there. They're right there. We'll get into that in just a minute, though. All right, we're ready to move on to the Phillies. All right, so next up is the Philadelphia Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies really didn't have any key acquisitions. I mean, we'll go over that in a second. But their biggest thing was re-signing JT Realmuto and Didi Gregorius to contracts. They did acquire Zach Wheeler, so that helps a little bit from a pitching standpoint. Yeah, I think Archie Bradley's an interesting piece that they added as well. What are your thoughts on the Phillies?
Yeah, Archie Bradley being added, I think, is huge. He was really good for the Diamondbacks out of the bullpen. Could be some maybe closer duties. Maybe they stretch him out. And who knows? I think he always wanted to be a starting pitcher, but I thought that was a great acquisition as well. Wheeler, 2.92 ERA last year. Maybe he just needed out of the New York Mets. Who knows? But if that guy can pitch like that as a number 2, that would be huge for them. I think that the Phillies might have the best lineup in this division. We just talked about a team hitting 20 home runs or more out of 8 players. But, I mean, you got Andrew McCutchen, Bryce Harper, Rice Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, Gene Segura. And then you add in, like, super prospect Alex Baum, right? I mean, that kid last year, what did he do? He batted .338 last year in his rookie year. I mean, that's a big key to this team is where he's going to bat and what he's going to do. He only hit 4 home runs, but the guy is 6'5". He's going to hit home. You know what I mean? He's a big dude. Only hit 4 home runs. If he can even keep an average close to that, the power will come, and that could be. You add that into that lineup, that could be huge.
True.
The key to the Phillies for me is the pitching, and it starts with Aaron Nola. I think me and you both know a lot about Nola. He has always been a great pitcher. Not quite taken that ace role. He had back-to-back years with 220 plus strikeouts, 3.28 ERA, 96 strikeouts in 71 innings last year. If he can have another full year and just really be that ace for the Phillies, that's going to be the key for them. But I like the team.
Yeah, I like the Phillies too. I mean, my actual biggest question mark is Bryce Harper. Like Bryce Harper, don't get me wrong, he'll put up the peripherals, he'll get the numbers out there, he'll get a lot of walks, he'll get on base enough. But Bryce Harper, I mean, he needs to return back to MVP form, Bryce Harper, and then that might elevate the Phillies for me. But that's my biggest, and that's my biggest question mark because Bryce Harper is not actually a proven winner. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Washington Nationals 2 years ago won a World Series without him. So, and the Nationals did get to the playoffs with him, but I don't know if that's Bryce Harper. Like, I mean, I have this huge, like, weird chemistry thing for teams that have superstars and they rely on those superstars. And what happens is the rest of the team just kind of lowers their performance while the superstar makes it all about them. And I think that's kind of what a Bryce Harper does. But maybe he'll prove me wrong. He's still young enough to do that. They do have a big hole though. Like their biggest hole right now is who's going to play center field for them. Is it Roman Quinn? Is that going to be their center fielder? Like that to stack up against Atlanta in this division from an offensive standpoint or the Mets, they really have to figure out who is going to be their center fielder of the future. Is it Roman Quinn or is it somebody else? And I think that's their biggest hole. The other thing is they signed a bunch of veterans starting pitchers like Ivan Nova and Chase Anderson. How do these guys fit into the rotation? That's pretty much all set. It's Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, Velasquez, and then Spencer Howard also spent some time starting last year. So is it Nova? How does Nova and Anderson get in this? They're not one of the teams that are rumored to have a 6-man rotation. Interesting. So let's have some question marks. Good team.
I think Nova was a good flyer. I mean, he might be done. I mean, I don't know how many more PED things he can get away with, and he didn't do so good in his journey there. But the Bryce Harper thing, man, you know, the guy's batting average has fallen off, but he is still just feared. I mean, the guy had a 420 on base percentage last year, second highest of his career. So, I mean, the guy gets on base. I mean, I don't know why you don't just put Bryce Harper like bat number 2. You know, his average is too far down, and he's only 28. I mean, again, he could do anything, but you know, with his batting average always up and down, like it's the one thing that's not consistent. His on base percentage is always consistent. I'd bat that guy at 2. Find some other people to knock him in or something, but he gets on base like a machine.
He does get on base like a machine. Yeah, 420 was his. I mean, I'm sure Darius will correct you. Second highest on base percentage. Obviously, his MVP year was just insane. Like about a 330
That's
out
what
of 4.
I said second highest.
Oh, did you? Okay, well, I'll fix that.
The 460. He had a 460 on base percentage where he batted like 320 or 330.
Yeah, 330. So anyway, yeah. So Bryce Harper, is he going to do anything with the Phillies? That's the question. Like, is this monster contract that he signed with the Phillies? What's going to happen with him? And then does he make the players around him better? Like Alec Boehm in the lineup, I think that's a great addition to the lineup, based on what he did in the minors, based on what he did last year. Bryce Hoskins has also taken a dip. And I'd like to see Didi Gregorius get back to where he was with the Yankees, power-wise. Like I want to see that happen. But it's an interesting lineup. I think again, will they get to the playoffs? Potentially. They're potentially a playoff team. But are they all the way there? I don't know. Are they the most complete team in the NL East? All right, moving on. Washington Nationals. This is the last team that we have. Washington Nationals, their key acquisitions in the offseason were Brad Hand and Kyle Schwarber. And John Lester is an interesting addition as well. So they used the Cub connection quite a bit. What are your thoughts on the Nationals?
I mean, I still think John Lester as a number 4 I thought that was a great acquisition.
Yeah.
They still have a 3-headed monster in Scherzer, Corbin, Strasburg, or Strasburg, Scherzer, Corbin, or Corbin. I mean, whatever. They're all amazing. Whatever one you want to put. I mean, those guys would be a number 1 on most teams. They are really young. I love Trey Turner and Juan Soto. I love how they kind of went from Harper and Rendon to those two. You know, they kind of cut a lot of their salary cap and got younger and better. I mean, those two guys are amazing. The addition of Kyle Schwarber and Josh Bell is going to be interesting to that lineup. Josh Bell, amazing year 2 years ago, not so amazing last year in the COVID world. But at the same time, I mean, he's only struck out 20% of his career. Last year he struck out 4%. So I think it was more last year being an anomaly than anything. So I expect Josh Bell to have a little bit of a correction. Victor Robles is going to be the key to this team. I mean, he was a top 5 prospect 4 years ago. They could really use some extra help there too. And their pitching is just unbelievable. So it's going to come down to a lot of their acquisitions and that offense. But I think the Nationals are looking good.
Yeah, the Nationals, their acquisitions, Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell, to go with the youth. I'm not going to throw Trey Turner because that dude's been in there forever, but Juan Soto, Victor Robles, and Carter Kieboom. These 3 guys, this has to be – Juan Soto's already great, possibly an MVP candidate, but Victor Robles and Carter Kieboom, they have to take that step forward this year. For me anyway, for Washington to be at the top of the National League. Are they going to be in the conversation? Yeah, I mean, you can't exclude them from the conversation if their rotation is Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, and Steven Strasburg. If that's your first 3, even with a 37-year-old John Lester, man. But here's the other thing, though, is Washington doesn't have anybody on the farm. Like their depth, they're done. Like Carter Kieboom's their last major prospect. To make it to the big show. So it's not, the window is now for Washington. And don't get me wrong, they won the World Series 2 years ago, but I'm sure that most of these guys want to win it again. But their window is going to start to really shrink, especially in the National League East.
Yeah, I don't know if it shrinks that much, only just because of how young Soto, Turner, Robles, and Kieboom are. I mean, Those guys are – so, I mean, they got some years to replenish the farm system because those guys are so young. But I agree that bottom half of the lineup, like the difference between everybody else in this division, we talk about their lineup 1 through 9 is, man, they're so good 1 through 8. There are so many home runs 1 through 8. Like Robles and Kieboom are the bottom of that lineup. And if those guys don't produce, I agree that I feel like the Nationals will fall behind those other teams.
Yeah, I mean, really, the window I'm speaking of is the one with the age of the starting pitcher, Scherzer, Corbin, and Strasburg, and Lester. I mean, they don't have any prospects coming down the pipe to replace those guys. Yeah. So they're in trouble. In my opinion, the window is short because of that. Offensively, they're going to be relevant for a while because they have so much youth. Also, what I think Starlin Castro kind of gets kind of pushed to the side here, but that he's a Major League Baseball hitter. Like that guy's definitely he produces everywhere he goes. As much as he used to make errors back in the day, he is shored up defensively. Yes, a lot of them. Yeah. Oh, you froze. Give it a second. Hey, he's back. All right, good. All right, probably my internet. Yeah, I'm going to get internet inconsistent or something like that. Some error is going to pop up on my screen in a second. All right, I'm going to give you the National League East odds. This is from Vegas Insider. The odds are the Braves are the odds-on favorite to win the National League East, and they have a 10-1 odds of winning the World Series. Mets are second at 12-1. The Phillies are third at 35-1. The Nationals are fourth at 40-1, and the Marlins are fifth at 80-1. So they have 2 teams that are actually in the top 8 for World Series contenders, and then they have 4 teams that are in the top 16. That's the Braves, Mets, Phillies, and Nationals. Marlins around 25th. All right, who's your number 5?
My number 5 is your wild card team from last year, the Florida Marlins. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, my number 5 also is the Miami Marlins. Who's your number 4?
Number 4, it's tough. So 1 through 4 here got tough for me, but because of the stuff we just talked about, my number 4 is the Nationals.
Okay, yeah, my number 4 is the Phillies, but likewise, I think the Phillies or Nationals are actually interchangeable here, in my opinion. But Phillies and Nationals, my number 4 is the Phillies. Who is your number 3?
My number 3 is Las Vegas's best odds. My number 3 is the Atlanta Braves.
Ooh, yeah, because they're starting pitching.
I really think that their starting pitching in a long season here is going to show up thin.
See, I
And
think
just again, this division is so tight, but I feel like they end up a few games behind my top 2 teams.
okay. I think for me, it's the Nationals. The Nationals are number 3, just because their offense has question marks at the end. Otherwise, pitching wise, I think they match up well. So we may disagree, may agree to disagree there. Who's your number 2 team?
My number 2 is the Phillies. I really think that offense is really good this year. I think Nola, Wheeler are exceptional, and I think Vincent Velasquez and Eflin take a step up, and I think that rotation actually ends up being really well.
Okay. All right. My number 2 team is the Atlanta Braves. I think the Atlanta offense is, in my opinion, the top offense in the National League East. Just top to bottom, they're nearly impossible to compete with. And that's across Major League Baseball. All they need is for their prospect pitching to click. And they could be the top team in Major League Baseball. That leaves us the number 1 team in the NL East. I think we both agree.
We did.
Your New York Mets. There's just a lot to like about the New York Mets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the way their lineup is built. I just think DeGrom's an animal, and that pitching staff could be really good as well. And the bullpen is exceptional.
One thing that we didn't talk about, so they already, I think, in my opinion, have the second, maybe third best rotation in the NL East. And Noah Syndergaard is scheduled to come back in the middle of June. So you add Noah Syndergaard to DeGrom, Stroman, Carrasco, and we're talking about a 4 horses that can really get it done and win some games. They shored up the bullpen, which was a major bane on their existence, essentially. I think the Mets have made all the right moves to compete this year.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That is our NL East preview. We're about to break into 60 seconds of Joe. Do you have your timer set?
No, I didn't even. I forgot we were doing a 60 seconds with Joe.
Oh, yeah, we're doing 60 seconds with Joe. Do you want me to go first?
No, I didn't. All I did was prepare for the NL East.
I've got a really cool 60 seconds of Joe, so I'm prepared. Good job doing your homework. Again, this is our 7 fans. This is some of their favorite segments of 60 seconds of Joe. He's coming. Look, I see his eyes. He's working on it. Pick my nose since I'm editing this out.
Pick my nose.
3, 2, 1.
Let's chat a little bit about what Major League Baseball can do to really engage with the fans and make some changes that are going to change the entertainment aspect of Major League Baseball. So a lot has been talked about changing the shift or the universal DH or any of these additional rules to make it more exciting for the casual fan. But I actually have the real answer. The real answer is better levels of engagement. Taking a page out of the NFL's playbook where they engaged younger people with their Nickelodeon efforts and their cartoon stuff and the end zone things. Major League Baseball can absolutely do that. Look, one of the things that I think is interesting is that we have lost our storytelling play-by-play guys. And if we had apps that told the story of batters as they got up, or something that to that effect, or some kind of crazy stat. Like one of the great things about baseball is the stories. Bring back the stories, make it more interactive for the kids, and you get Major League Baseball back.
I want to talk about the Nets. A little while back, the Nets acquired James Harden, and the other Joe didn't think that they'd be able to compete. And I said, they're going to the finals. They're at least going to the Eastern Conference Championship, guaranteed. And it still looks that way. I just want to talk a little bit about what James Harden has been able to do since he came over. This guy is leading the league in assists at 11.29. In his last 7 games, he's had 12 assists, 10 assists, 12 assists, 16 assists, 14 assists, 11 assists. Last night, he put up 38 points and 11 assists with Irving and KD out. They've won their 4th game in a row. They're actually starting to play some defense. And I actually think that this is going to gel. This is going to end up being a really, really good trade and acquisition for the Nets. And James Harden can play basketball and does not mind just being the overall star to shoot all the time. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Now he pass.
That was closer, only 55 seconds. I will say, though, because I feel like we should record this, I will say that the overall record of the New Jersey Net, I'm sorry, the Brooklyn Nets, the overall record is not indicative of really all 3 of them playing at the same time. All 3 of them have played at the same time against a team with a 500 record or better only 4 times, and they're 2-2 in those games. And one of them was against the Boston Celtics, who was at 500 at the time. So it's hard to, with all 3 of them in, it's going to be interesting. When it's just 1 or 2 of them in, yeah, they don't have to be, they can be selfish and they can do their thing or play their game. But when you've got all 3 of them in, that's when it makes it really tough. Also, I didn't know Joe Harris was white.
Really?
I watched the game last night. That game was insane. I can't believe the Nets came back on the Suns and won it. Like, I can't believe they won it.
All right, I have a meeting at 9:15.
All right, peace out, man.
Peace.
3, 2, 1.